What is up, everybody? We're just going to test the audio real quick. So this is going to be an audio check. Gary, go ahead and talk just so we can hear your voice.
Audio check, 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 audio check.
That's a really good audio check. We're going to be starting the show in just about 10 or 15 seconds, so give us 1 second. Stand by, everybody. Watching live.
All right.
Everybody, Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner here for another Ginger Runner Live, coming to you live from Portland, Oregon with a wonderful crew here. And actually, we're not just in Portland because one of our main guests tonight, in fact, I would say our main guest because we're going to be talking all about him. Gary, unmute your microphone because I can't do it. You're going to have to just click unmute up in the panel over there. But we are joined by Mr. Gary Robbins from Silverton, Colorado.
Hello, hello.
Tonight's show is going to be awesome because we're going to be talking all about Gary Robbins and his recent FKT on the Wonderland Trail, which essentially is a 93-mile, 23,900-foot elevation gang trail that runs around Mount Rainier in Washington. Insane what he did last week. And we have our crew as well joining us tonight. Jeff Fisher.
Woo!
I'm the only one clapping.
Yeah.
Kimberly Tashima Newberry.
Woo!
And me. So get ready, everybody.
Yeah.
Very excited for tonight's show. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're trying something new with the satellite / local / group around the table, but Gary is also very sleepy, so we're gonna try to rush through it. Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 73. Hope you're grabbing your beverages of choice. Let's get this show started. Ginger Runner. Yay! Oh, look, we even have another guest. So I'm really excited about tonight's show because we get to talk about, I have to say, probably one of the most incredible things I've experienced or witnessed since starting running. It was nuts what happened last week. I'm trying to remember what day it was because
Wednesday,
July 1st, and finished early Thursday morning. But that is Gary Robbins's FKT around the Wonderland Trail in Mount Rainier National Park in Washington State. Gary, why don't you kind of set up here why you chose to do this or attempt it, and maybe a little bit of the history behind this trail and kind of why it's so important.
Cool. And I mean, first and foremost, I'm really happy all you guys are doing this tonight. It's really appreciated. So it's good to see everybody's faces again. Wonderland.
Beard, Gary. It's good to see your beard. It's still there.
It's still there.
I don't think it's going anywhere, but
absolutely. Wonderland Trail around Mount Rainier, 93 miles. They listed at about 24. I've gotten closer to 25 on my GPS, so I'm taking it. I'm taking the extra 1,000 feet. And it's been a special trail for me for a long time. I learned about Mount Rainier was one of the first mountains on the West Coast that I learned about when I moved west 20 years ago. And my now wife lived in Tacoma, and for many years we commuted from Tacoma to North Vancouver, which is a 600-kilometer return drive. So one of us did that every weekend. And for me, you get a brief sightline of Rainier when you hit Seattle, and you get a full sightline, just beautiful sightline of Rainier as soon as you clear Seattle. And you clear Seattle and then are on to Tacoma. So it was meaningful for me in many regards, and it was that visual reward of knowing that I was almost there. I was almost my time spending it through that weekend with Linda was almost was about to begin. And then I learned of the FKT many years ago. Huge respect for Kyle's time. And I almost started an attempt on the Wonderland 18 months ago, having never stepped on the trail before. But that was when your government decided they were going to walk out and shut down all the parks. So all the trails were closed. And I'm actually thankful that I didn't line up for it then, because going in blind, I really wouldn't have had anywhere near the success that I did this time around. And those guys, the two on the right there, Jeff and Jen, were a part of a larger group of Portland runners that I got to join with a friend from Vancouver as well, to do a 3-day circumnavigation in October, early October. And that was what opened my eyes to what the trail consisted of. And that was the moment when we did that 3 days that I realized that it was very much in line with my skill set as a runner, meaning the climbs are steep and nasty, so you can move faster if you're power hiking than you can if you're trying to run, and the descents are long and arduous, and I consider myself to specialize in long, difficult descents. So I got really excited in October about the potential for finally stepping up to attempt this. And then the final bits and pieces that came together were, we've had an unusually warm and dry year on the coast. The trail is typically not open this early, late June, early July. I wanted to take advantage of the daylight, having much more daylight than normal. Most FKT attempts have been September or late August. And I'm in Silverton right now for Hard Rock, so I had the time to get that in before coming down here. And my wife and I are having a child in 6 weeks. If it waits that long, if he waits that long, and if he doesn't, then everything halts immediately. So Linda and I talked about, get this in while you can, because life's going to change real quick, and we're going to be very excited about dedicating ourselves to our child. And I wouldn't have even questioned that this wouldn't happen if he comes out early.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say, and the awesome wife Linda is in the chat room, and we missed her dearly, and we're happy that we can kind of communicate.
Absolutely, and
via the
technology.
Internet. Yeah.
And I thank you, Kim, because I should also clarify the reason that Linda was not a part of this is because we're not insured for a childbirth outside of Canada within 9 weeks of your due date. There have been stories as bad as someone having a preemie in the U.S. ending up in the hospital for almost a month and having a bill of $700,000. So we can't risk bankruptcy for having a child in the United States. But my wife, being the incredible person that she is, was adamant about me not only going and doing this without her, but going to Silverton without her, which I asked many times if that was what I should do, what we should do, and she wants me to succeed in Hard Rock when I eventually get in, and a big part of that is learning the course of the area. So I love my wife, and I thank my wife, and that's why she's wasn't at Rainier and is not with me here in Silverton.
Yeah, I also wanted to point out, you briefly touched on it. You have a number of FKTs, and this is kind of something that is really interesting. Not only do you have a really great race resume, but you also have a number of FKTs already. Was the Wonderland one of those trails where in the back of your mind you thought or knew you could get the FKT there, and it was just that like important for you to add another one to the list? I mean, are you drawn to the adventure of an FKT more than winning a race per se?
I love the adventure. I love adventure runs. I always have. Tracking back through when I first started racing, I've always found the highlights of my year, the ones I really think about the most and default to, are based around the adventure runs. Same thing with last year, with 2014. That 3 days around Rainier stands out as some of the biggest highlights of the entire year. So I try to pursue at least 1 or 2 big adventure runs a year, and have for many years, and then that evolved into trying to do them in FKT style. And in terms of the question regarding the Wonderland, there was zero certainty that I could do this, but deep down inside, I really felt that I had a legitimate shot at doing this. I mean, it was a highly respected time, and I certainly did not walk into this cocky or or in the belief that it was absolute. I very much thought I had just as much a chance as falling flat on my face and our film project to be about dealing with disappointment as it was about how it actually turned out on the day.
Yeah, so the FKT that existed was put down by Kyle Skaggs. Hi, Ferris. Back in 2006. 20 hours and 53 minutes, which, I mean, you've mentioned it, and I remember hearing this and reading about it. That time has stood since he said it in 2006. It's a monster of a time. I think many people have attempted it, but no one's come close. So I think that's definitely something we want to point out, is that it was an incredible time, and he's an incredible runner with a really amazing resume. But I also want to ask you about your crew, because now we have everyone here. There are a couple that are not, were unable to join us tonight, Rich White and Jeff Peltier. And Willie. And Willie, of course.
And Willie McBride.
Email him back, because I know he actually he's sitting in front of the computer right now going,
what the hell, guys?
6:30.
You dropped me out of the chat,
about
too.
kind of putting your crew together, and what was the intention with each person, and kind of the whole goal?
So with putting the crew together, I wanted it to be fun, and I wanted to have really good people involved. And the first people I thought of were the people I went around the mountain with to begin with, the crew out of Portland. And I honestly did not think the majority of you guys were going to join me for this. I just wanted you there because I like you guys a lot and thought you'd bring a really fun element to it. And I sent out an email to a group of people, and I couldn't believe the feedback I got, including from yourself, Ethan, and Kim, about, yeah, absolutely, we're going to be there for this. And in the end, I looked at it one day, I'm like, at one point we had 9 people that had committed to coming to do this, which sounds preposterous for 9 people to be a part of one person's run. So I really wanted everybody to have their experience. I wanted Jeff and Jen to get to go run a section, and Willie to run a section, and for people to enjoy the Wonderland Trail themselves. But it was an email chain. I really didn't expect it to go the way it did, and everybody that could make it did make it, and it made for a really fun experience.
So let's start talking through the day, because the day it's a long one, and some of us weren't able to be a part of some of your running because you're so fast. So we would wait at aid stations and stuff like that. At that point. But some of us were able to run a little bit with you. But I kind of want to start maybe like the night before, the morning of, what's going through your head, kind of walk us through stepping foot at the start of the Wonderland and that first section.
It was actually a busy, stressful few days leading into it. And it's funny because Jeff Peltier from Canada that came down and helped with the video work and is here in Silverton with me but couldn't make the call. He's out eating right now.
Eating with Killian and Emily, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. He showed up and he's like, you didn't even mention this on social media. What happened? And I was like, honestly, I just didn't get a chance. I had a 12, 13-hour workday on Monday, got out late out of Vancouver, drove to Tacoma and stayed at Rich's house. Rich and I hadn't seen each other for a while, so we chatted for a few hours. It was 1 o'clock before I got to bed. I got up on Tuesday and hadn't prepared anything. I just threw all of my supplies in a bag. I didn't even have a run plan, really, so I spent 3 hours that morning just going over everything and trying to come up with timing and a proper plan, and then I wanted to get a shakeout run. And by the time I actually arrived at Rainier, it was 4:30 in the evening, a few hours later than I intended to get there, and nobody else was there. And I had my my mega tent, my tent mahal, that takes an hour to set up by yourself, and it only just exactly fit one of the campsites. It was like the footprint of the campsite matched the tent. So it took me an hour to set up the tent, and 10 seconds after the last peg went in, you, Ethan, and Kim managed to just magically appear. And
make sure all the hard work was done before we got there.
Did you just get this?
Because literally when we pulled up, Gary is like hammering the last stake and then just stares at us. You do know I'm running an FKT in the morning.
So, and then people started trickling in, and before I knew it, it was 10:30. Put my head down, and I was surprised. I was so tired, I just basically fell asleep. And woke up the next morning at 4. Did we get up at 4? I think it was 4:30. Yeah, 4:30 because we wanted to leave the campsite at 5:30. And I felt calm, which was really nice. Like I slept fine the night before. I felt calm the morning of, and I knew I was just going to do a beautiful run. And when I started, I wasn't nearly as anxious as I thought I would be. And I really did feel like, well,
You were running to the start. We can't even get your picture. Let's rewind.
Jen, let me clarify.
Before we get too far into this, Gary, a lot of us are standing there at the start, like getting our camera gear together. We look up and they're like,
Where's Gary?
Where is Gary?
I'm like, he's going.
He's going. So we see you standing by the Wonderland trail sign going, I'll see you guys in a bit. And like, Gary, this is the most important shot, which is you leaving.
So,
great if
okay, well, let me quantify my statement. I wasn't anxious inside about the run. I just wanted to make sure I got started on time.
Yeah.
I have race director blood. I don't want to start late. And I was looking at it going, all right, I got to go. Let's do this. Let's get this on. So yeah, I was running to the start. I wanted to start at 5:55 a.m. I thought there would be I thought it was a nice number. And I started at 5:55:59 because my watch clicked to 5:56 as soon as I hit start. And I started running with Willie McBride. So Willie, Yassine's partner in animal athletics, and I were going to do the first 34 miles together. And Willie and I decided to have our own independent experiences on the trail. And within a few miles, Willie was doing his own thing, and I was off the front and feeling good about my day to that point, and that I actually took my watch. The GPS was on, but I clicked to a screen with no information, a heart rate screen that I only use when I ride my bike, and I left it there. I didn't pay attention to time or distance. I wanted to be in the moment, and I wanted to be true to myself and not push pace according to time and distance. And I just ran what I felt was comfortable, and it allowed me to get into, I wouldn't say a meditative state, but it certainly allowed me to get into a very good groove physically and mentally. And I felt at one with the day and at one with the trail, and felt like I was doing a really good job of telling myself that you're competing. This is a race. You have to stay competitive. But I wasn't doing too much, and there were no external influences. It was very much an internal experience at that point, not paying attention to anything else. And July 1st was the hottest July 1st on record, if I'm not mistaken. So I was concerned about the heat, but there's a lot of water sources on the Wonderland Trail. And the first 34 miles, all I knew is that I wanted to get to Mowich Lake around 7 hours in. And the last descent and climb before Mowich Lake, I ran out of water on the descent, went about 35 minutes without, and started to suffer a little bit, but thankfully got some water in within a reasonable time frame so it didn't get to be too drastic. And that first 34 miles has over 11,000 feet of climbing. The reason people go clockwise is because you want to get that done while you're fresh. And I checked my watch when I was coming up over the top, and I came into Lake Mowich in 6:39, which was beyond my best case scenario. And at that point inside, I just kind of said, it's on. Today is the day. We're doing this, and it's happening.
Yeah, because you mentioned it in the interview that I did with you the night before. There was a little bit of concern about the foot possibly becoming an issue because weeks before this happened, you injured your foot pretty badly, right?
3.5 weeks before this, I went on what it ended up being my last long run. It wasn't planned as my last long run. It was, coincidentally enough, a 34 miler. With 12,000 feet, it actually ended up mimicking the first 34 miles of the trail almost perfectly. And halfway through the day, I cranked my foot on a hidden downed tree with the overside of my foot where there's no protection. And I thought I broke a toe, and then had to finish that day, the next 17 miles on a very painful swollen toe. Got x-rays, was told it wasn't broken, had relief, emailed all you guys and said this might not happen. And 3.5 weeks later, when I started the day, my toe the pain had not subsided. It got enough so that I could run, but every single step I took in the 3 weeks in training leading up to the run day was painful. And I was worried that it would swell after 10 hours and it would prevent me from being able to continue. And came to terms early on with the fact that I had no control over that. And in the end, it was the exact opposite. After 10 hours, it subsided, and I never really felt it for the rest of the day. It just became a normal thing for the run and didn't affect pacing biomechanics. My big concern is it was altered biomechanics.
and it didn't. So I felt very fortunate that that small thing didn't become a big thing. It didn't prevent the day from happening.
That's pretty awesome. And it basically was on all of our minds, because this is kind of getting to the time when we all essentially run into you for the first time since you started, and also when you pick up Jen and Jeff. So a lot of us we were concerned because we didn't know what's Gary going to be like at mile 34. Is he going to roll in like that's it, the day's over, foot's done, or is he going to roll in happy, or is he going to roll in after time? You know, we didn't really know. We knew that we would see you at Mowich Lake, which is, or Mowich, we still haven't figured it out. Mowich, at mile 34, I think it's mile 34.
Yep.
So before we kind of move forward with hearing from Jen and Jeff about what it's like to pace Gary Robbins, because this is where you pick them up, I want to take live questions. So we do have questions from audience members for you, Gary, and for the crew. If at any point you guys have a question, jump into the chat room and let us know. Kim is keeping an eye on it, so she'll be copying and pasting the questions as they come. We have one from Zev Robbins. Congrats, Gary, on getting the FKT. How much of a factor was the heat? Do you think you could have been faster if not for the extreme warmth the Pacific Northwest has been experiencing? You say again?
First and foremost, rad last name. I really like that one. It's funny because that has been asked by a few people to me, and in all honesty, the heat was a factor, but I felt like I was really acclimated for it. We've had a hot year. I've raced overseas in very hot weather. My brother got married in Mexico a few months ago. It was 40 degrees while we were down there. It wasn't as much a shock to the system as I anticipated. I felt like I was acclimated for the heat. I suffered on the second leg in the heat when it was the middle of the day. And realistically, if the heat was a factor, it was a small factor in the end. If I could have been faster, it was minimal. A friend of mine said you could have been an hour faster, and I kind of chuckled. I'm like, no, I could not have been an hour faster. It would have been minutes. I feel it did not negatively impact my day. It was, if you're going to run in July and take advantage of 15 and a half hours of daylight, I said this to myself when I was suffering in the heat. If you're going to take advantage of 15 and a half hours of daylight, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of heat while you're out there. So no, I don't think it took away from the time that was put down.
So now for you guys, when you saw, because both Jen and Jeff kind of ran down the trail a little bit to pick up Gary, just to kind of see when you were coming in and stuff like that, Gary. For you guys, what was going through your head when you saw him for the first time?
Oh shit, he looks fast. Damn it.
Too early.
Yeah.
Because we basically had all shown up kind of around the same time. This is also when we saw Yassine for the first time, because he had driven up from Portland. And Rich White, who unfortunately couldn't be on the show tonight because he's camping, was there setting up a table with stuff for you. But what we didn't know was that we thought we had like an hour. We thought we'd be like, oh, Gary's going to show up. Yeah. It'll be good. Oh, let's go. Hey, look at that lake. It's so pretty.
I'm trying to help here. It was getting really dark and dingy upstairs.
Yeah, we were going to say it's getting darker and darker in Silver.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'll figure it out.
That's keep talking. That's fine. You can still hear it though, right?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Just walk around. Yeah, just don't walk too far from the Wi-Fi because we got good signal. What were you going to say, Kim?
Oh, I was just going to say, you were in fact just telling me I'm going to go to the car to grab my other camera.
Oh, yeah.
Like I just hear the noises. I was like, there he is.
Because like I wanted to grab a couple cameras to film a couple different angles. And I'm like, oh, Kim, I'm going to go grab my camera. And next thing you know, I see Jen running up with her straw hat just going, he's coming! What? No. And yeah, sure enough, Gary comes ripping up the trail and sits down in the chair, and I think the first words out of your mouth was like, "Don't give me more than 10 minutes or something."
I don't think he sat down.
Oh, he didn't.
I didn't.
Right.
I didn't sit down that time though.
Sit down.
Yeah.
We basically put the countdown watch on you. You didn't want to stay there longer than 10 minutes, so we had countdown going. At that point, when you see your friends and your crew, was that like a huge boost for you, or were you already kind of in the zone coming into that?
So first and foremost, I found a velour curtain, I think, to sit in front of. So
where are you?
I'm in the house in Silverton, and yeah, it's an interesting little spot. It used to be a house nightclub and a rum microdistillery that they threw a bunch of beds in and started renting out as a B&B. So when I came up to Mowich, I looked at my watch and that was it. Like I said, I knew it was on. I came over the top. I was super pumped to see everybody. I knew that I was ahead of plan. I didn't sit down. It was just so rejuvenating to see everybody smiling and cheering. And I wanted you guys counting the minutes. I didn't want to stay too long. I was out within 8 minutes. And it was really nice to pick up Jeff and Jen at that point and start to run with some people. So yeah, I got a huge boost of energy from seeing everybody and again, seeing the time in which it took me to get there.
So Jeff and Jen, let's talk a little bit about kind of your running history, you guys as runners, what you've done, and what your mindset was going into pacing Gary for this section, because you've done Wonderland before, you know what you're in for.
Yeah. I think Jeff wants me to go first. So for me, I was nervous because I was coming off of my first 100, and
no big deal.
and Gary's fast, and I was ambitious, and I wanted to hang out with my friend on a beautiful trail. And Jeff, there was actually Sam Drove, Gary's friend, was going to be the other woman pacing with me, and she had a last minute, had to leave or couldn't come. So we enlisted Jeff, which luckily he was able to do this. Because Gary on the first technical descent dropped me like a hammer, and, to say the least. And I knew that the technical descending wasn't going to be my strongest. And so I didn't realize that was happening right off the bat. So I got maybe a mile and a half or so with the boys. And then I'll see you on the uphill. That's fine. And then proceeded to guard my foot that had been kind of compensated after Bryce. And off they went, and I could kind of see them a little bit going down the zigzaggies. I landed on my butt a few times, got back up, and was like, this is going to be a day.
Oh man.
And I was really glad that Gary had Jeff, because I knew Jeff was going to stick with him as long as he possibly could. And that I was just going to have fun on the Wonderland, kind of be the party bus. I think that was the joke I made to any hiker that I was passing. You see two guys up there? Cool. I'm having the party back here. So just knowing that they had each other, just knowing that Gary was having like a stellar day was probably the best, most comforting thing. Knowing that I had to navigate the trail by myself without a little sketchy, but it was great. And yeah, and I chased them as hard as I could, basically.
In Jen's defense, that descent coming down Ipsit Pass is very sun exposed, and it had really grown over because of all the sun that we've had for so long. It was treacherous going down there, and it was definitely not a safe descent. We were pushing it going through there. So I'm defending in your defense, Jen. It was very difficult getting down the switchbacks.
And Jeff, for you, what was it like now picking up and knowing that Jen is also falling off and you have to keep up with Gary?
Yeah. So my experience running with Gary has been a lot of a couple adventure runs. We did the Wonderland Trail. I did parts of it last year, and then also we did the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim this March, which was huge success, amazing experience. But it was an adventure run, and that was. Adventure runs are to share the moment with your friends and really take in all the sights and sounds and your environment. And I realized really quickly that this is a whole other ball game. To be, in the way that I like to say it, it's to be basically slingshotted into a stretch down from Mowich Lake down to the river. I mean, trying to keep up with Gary on that loose technical downhill descent was awesome. It was actually an amazing experience, and I will forever hold that in my heart. Certainly, I realized. Go ahead, Gary. No, and I will. Someone's home.
Hi, Erica.
But I realized that this is a man who. To quote the Edward Sharp song, is a man on fire. And which was awesome. But I had to change my mental state for it. We had talked about before crewing and pacing that pacers were going to stay together. So Jen and I were a pacing duo, and like any safety in the wilderness, we had to make sure everyone got to where they needed to go safely. I stuck with Gary for probably about 16 miles, and then 2 miles of just looking at the blue dot poke through the trees every once in a while. And I came to the realization that Gary Robbins is on a mission. He's committed. He is in the best physical and mental state right now. And yeah, I could hang with him behind him, but to me, it was more important to make sure that Jen was safe and that that we were going to all come out. And that was something that Gary was very adamant about, that that if for any reason a pacer drops or falls off the radar a little bit, that we stay with each other and head out. And then I just basically got to spend the next several miles with my best friend, and I got to enjoy a new section of Mount Rainier with her, and worked out really well. But I think it was it's amazing because you get into this race mode where you're like, okay, I'm going to keep up with Gary. I'm going to be, I got my sights. I'm like, hold on, this isn't a race. This is this is the key is safety. You're a pacer. Pacer means safety. And that doesn't always mean the person that you're pacing. I will be coming out with shirts. I got dropped by Gary Robbins because I feel that's going to be a continuing thing in Gary's career. But regardless, safety was the big thing for me, and that just meant that Jen and I finished it out together.
That's awesome. And I definitely, I'm excited to wear the shirt. I think we can all wear the shirt except for Yassine, who will not be getting one because he was able to keep with Gary. We'll get to that in just a bit.
I think you need to incorporate your body as a Wonderland. So.
Your body is a
Gary's
Wonderland.
CD mix, original mix. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Being in a car just in tears of joy. Creed, you had no Nickelback. I was a little John Mayer. Default. Sheryl Crow.
Old Coldplay.
Yeah, this is a CD we found in Gary's car while he's running. It's just full of the good jams.
All the classics.
Full of the good jams.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I've got some serious internet issues happening on my end, so I hope you guys can you still hear me?
We can hear you. Maybe
Okay.
you cannot hear us, maybe?
I heard you just now. It's getting really choppy, and I missed about the last minute and a half there.
I'll give you just a real quick debrief. I'm imagining it's because you're in the wizard's closet. Jeff was just talking about getting dropped by you, and his main focus was safety and making sure that Jen was safe. And
Well, one thing I wanted to say to Fisher was I was really incredibly impressed and thankful that he came with me for so long. I knew that I was feeling it, that when I was dropping down that pass, and I was really impressed that Fisher was with me. And then on the opposite side is that's the crux of the route in my estimations, going up past Carbon Glacier, up the Carbon River. You go to almost your lowest point. I think it is the lowest point on the route, to the second highest point on the route. You climb up total of about 4,800 feet over a couple of passes before you top out. And it's the middle of the day. It's noon, 1 o'clock. It's exposed, and I was starting to melt a little bit, and I was suffering. That was the crux. That was the difficult part for me. And having Jeff along for that, I said it to him multiple times. I'm really happy you're here right now. I wasn't conversive as much as I was, I was listening to Jeff tell stories, and just having someone along made a huge difference. And as we got about 3/4 of the way up that first climb, I got a bit of a step on Jeff, and there was a waterfall that I got in to cool off, and I told Fisher to take care of himself and get some water in his bladder. And when I turned to move, I thought that might be the split. And he yelled at me from below on the next ascent, and it was really nice to hear his voice. And I yelled back at him. And I was hopeful that he would stop at that point and wait for Jen, and that they would come in together. And to learn that afterwards made me very happy and put my mind at ease, because I definitely wanted people to be safe and to still enjoy their days out there.
Yeah. So at this point, as like crew, film, and all that stuff, we're making our way to White River. So we knew that Jeff and Jen were going to continue pacing you, and if they couldn't keep up, they would continue running anyways. We still hadn't really seen Willie yet, because Willie hadn't rolled into Mount. We were hoping he was okay, but we all had to move forward so we could catch Gary. So our next stop was White River. And a big part of White River was making sure that Jeff Peltier was able to get out on the trail to film you. And some of these, I mean, some of these vantage points are incredible, indescribable. And I hope that the film will do this justice. Jeff Peltier is an incredible filmmaker, so he was able to get some really amazing shots up there. But being at White River, we were waiting for you to come in, and this was a spot that you have run many times doing the Wonderland Trail, and you were worried that there might be some issues with because the Wonderland, Gary puts it properly, the Wonderland is 90% perfectly marked, but then there's 10% where you have a good likelihood of just ending up somewhere completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
To you. Yassine.
Yes.
So at White River, this is where Yassine is his story begins. So
Yeah.
let's kind of set that up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I ran the unsupported Wonderland Trail last year. Very much.
The record. Don't let him not say that he has the record.
I was going to say
25 hours.
which is the FKT Wonderland
Exactly.
Trail. So we can't forget that we have
So-
two
Whatever. It's not about
FKT
me.
members here.
Definitely not about me, but I did
I'm
remember
going to just
coming.
get Gary. It is Gary. Great job.
Gary's speed's cutting.
I did remember coming into White River Campground at 3:00 in the morning with my good friend Brian Donnelly, and there was like no little signs showing where the Wonderland Trail was. And even before I came up there, I said that's one spot that I've got to get to guide Gary to the Wonderland Trail.
Mm-hmm.
So Ethan and I and Kim got there a little early. Rich was being his awesome self, setting up the aid station, and I found exactly where it was, and it brought back a lot of memories from when I was kind of traipsing around there at 3 a.m. last year. So we found it, we got them all dialed in, and I just want to preface this by saying, it was a huge honor to be a part of the crew and to be asked to pace. And I was at the Hurt 100 in Hawaii with Gary in January, and we were at the pre-race briefing, and he just told me he was going to go for the attempt and asked me to pace him. And I was just like, sure. Yeah. And it was like, I was honored and humbled. And I confirmed that Gary Robbins does have superpowers. And I knew that from the Hurt 100 course record. And I think I may try to grow out my beard now.
There's actually a really cool story that I witnessed, and I had to have you explain it because I didn't know what was happening.
Yes.
But Gary, are you still wearing it?
Oh no, I'm not, because I've lost one in the past, so I don't wear it all the time because they come off with long sleeves. When I pull it off, it disappears. So I don't have my Hurt wristband on, but it was amazing when you see. So what happened was, so after I went up over Mystic Lake and over that climb, yelled down to Fisher, I put in my headphones and was definitely suffering, and I needed the music. And you drop down probably 1,000, 1,500 feet before having to climb back up into Sunrise, and that's fully exposed. And I was really dying a slow death, and I honestly thought my attempt was over. I thought I was way off pace. I thought I'd given away more than an hour. And I came up and through Sunrise, and then I saw Peltier with the camera, and he's got the camera, and I just pulled out an earphone and I said, "Music is in, can't talk." And I put the earphone right back in again because I was in a huge low point. And it wasn't until I saw the turn for White River that said it was only 3 miles that I looked at my watch and went, "Wait, you're not behind schedule, you're ahead of schedule again." But for the hour leading into that, I was really internalizing a lot of negative things. And then I was just kept telling myself, just get to Yassine, and it has to start cooling down. Those were the two things I kept going through my head. Just get to Yassine, and it has to start cooling down. And I dropped down into White River, and by the time I came in there, I had worked through my low point and saw everybody and started feeling good again. But I knew I needed to sit down, and I knew I needed about 15 minutes. So I said as much, and I grabbed it, and I continued to eat and get calories in and fix fluids. And Yassine came up to me and he said, I got a gift for you. And I just had a smile on my face and I was kind of perplexed. And he pulls out the Hurt 100 wristband, which it's religious in the Hurt running community. And he put it on my wrist. And I had already processed that the last 31 miles of the Wonderland Trail had 3 climbs and 3 descents, which is exactly what a loop at Hurt has. So I was processing, this is just an extended version of a Hurt loop. And then Yassine put that on my wrist, and I was kind of like, this is it. Everything feels good again. And Yassine and I took off out of there, and it was the best I felt all day. I mean, we were laughing while we were running through the campground, and not 35, 40 minutes before that, I was just in a world of misery, thinking that I had messed up and possibly gone out too hard.
It was really cool to witness and see Yassine hand you the wristband, because it was visceral. You could tell that this is a very special item for both of you guys, and to share that moment was really, really neat.
There was nothing else that Yassine could have given me that would have meant more and that could have made me feel better. It was perfect. I mean, yeah, it was very meaningful on all levels. He nailed it.
I was going to say that there might have been one thing he could have given you, and that's the updates from the hockey draft, which also seemed to completely change your mood. It was that moment on camera as well, where Gary's just like focused, and then Kim comes over delivering the news from Linda. Who got drafted?
It was free agency day, so yeah. So my hockey team typically are not in the running for the big names, and they had actually signed one of the biggest name defensemen. And I had this far-fetched dream that would happen. And then when Kim spit out that name, I was like, ah!
Very changed at that moment. We have live questions. I want to make sure that we ask these live questions, Gary, before we move into the section with you and Yassine. Let's do, I'm going to do this one from Mitch Muhlenfeld. What was the hardest part of the FKT, and how did you overcome it? We had a number of people asking stomach, joint, achy, muscles, mental. What was the hardest part?
I had no muscle issues. I had no leg issues. I had no cramping issues. That's actually never happened. I couldn't believe how well my body held up. The hardest part was the second section, the 26 miles from Mowich to White River. It was the heat, and it was going into, again, that climb up out of Carbon River, which even before I started the day, I knew that would be the crux of the route for me. And it was getting annihilated with the heat and the exposure. And I think the hardest part was right before you get to sunrise, there's a grade that you would run 9 times out of 10. And what happened was I couldn't run it. I kept trying, and I just kept failing on running it. So I was defaulting to hiking. And it just mentally was ripping me apart, because you're going, I should run this. I need to run this. You need to do this. And I would take 10 steps and stop and hike again. Realistically, my hike wasn't much slower than my run anyways. But in that moment, it does a lot of things to you mentally, and the heat on top of it. So that was the hardest part for me. And I'm actually amazed to say that once I got to Yassine, it was like we almost floated in from there. It's crazy how well that last 31 miles went.
Another good question, dealing particularly with this moment at White River, was the bridge being out. There it is, from Matt Westermeyer. Heard that the bridge was out on a trail, possible detour. Did that throw off plans, or how did that affect distance and stuff like that? Good
question, good insight. And actually, that bridge has been out for quite some time. When we did the trail in October, that bridge was out. When Yassine did his FKT attempt, the bridge was out. So I don't know that, and I think it might have even been out when Chrissy and Darcy ran their FKT. So if I'm not mistaken, that bridge has been out for multiple years now. I believe it adds a little bit of distance, but it basically just parallels on the opposite side of the river where the trail would normally go. It looks like when you're loosely looking at the top of a map, it looks equidistant, and I believe that's the only way you've been able to connect that route for multiple years now.
Yeah, because you end up just going across the road bridge as opposed to the long bridge.
So you end up running 2.5 miles on pavement, which is not fun, but it's again, it's doable, and it's pretty much the same connection.
So Yassine, you get picked up by Gary at this point. You know that Willie had been dropped. Jeff and Jen had both been dropped, but also enjoying their day. Everyone's enjoying their day. Everyone's having a great day. What's going through your mind here at this point?
Well, yeah, I was just hoping that I wasn't going to get dropped as well.
You didn't want.
You're going to miss out.
Well, we had talked about the storyline for the movie. Potentially,
Yassine has to drop out.
Yeah, that would make a great story. I mean, Gary broke the record and dropped all of his pacers in the process. But I could tell I could tell at Mowich that Gary was on it. And I told him as soon as I saw him, like, it's time. like this record needs to go down. And I sprayed him down, and I had my beast mode shirt on for him.
That's awesome.
Which it was on,
It
obviously.
was on.
And when he got to White River, I could tell it was still on, but I could tell he definitely had some more fatigue, and he wanted to walk the road a little bit, which I was fine, get some calories in you. And I knew we had some good running ahead of us, and I also knew we had one of the most beautiful sections of the entire roundabout ahead of us. But I also knew we had a very tough climb up to Summerland through the Panhandle Gap. So we just got into it, and we started talking, and he started filling me in on the day, and we got into some really good running sections. And the climb, it's kind of a gradual climb, and then it starts picking up as you get in there. And I think Gary and I had a brief talk about, if not getting too into all the numbers, and just like if we can just run anything that's like remotely runnable, if you could just run it slowly, it's all going to add up over 50K, right? So then we started popping up into the Panhandle Gap area, and that's when it started really getting beautiful. And I was running around. At this point, I didn't feel like I was going to get dropped at all. Like I could, it was a pretty decent climb, and there were some technical rocky sections, and I would run off trail and get some GoPro footage and run back and forth. And I wasn't in jeopardy at that point. What do you think, Gary?
I would say that was pretty accurate. You were running circles around me at that point.
I would like to make one comment about GoPros and running. I come from a science background, and no data is worth getting hurt over. I can now apply that to GoPro footage and filming, because usually when you're bombing down a steep hill, you trip, you got the 3 uncontrolled steps before you catch yourself. I think I maxed out at 7 in one spot. And that's where I learned I got to put the GoPro away for a little while and focus on the task at hand.
So we got some great footage going up through there. And then eventually Jeff Peltier we saw him at the top also getting some great footage, and we got it from both angles. And I feel like the movie's definitely worth watching when it comes out. There's going to be a great storyline.
We hope so.
Yeah.
No pressure, Ethan.
So I don't know what happened, but at that point, Gary was still climbing really well. I mean, like I would stop and get some footage, and then and I'd have to run to catch up, obviously, but he was hiking really strongly. And I don't know if I don't use a GoPro that often, but I don't know if I left it on or hit the Bluetooth or whatnot, but all of a sudden I look down and the battery's dead. Can't turn it back on. And now we're climbing, we're up, getting these beautiful sunset alpenglow, and we pop up to the top of the climb, and I normally have my phone on me, and I'm taking lots of photos, and I normally have some sort of device, or somebody does in this day and age, and I've got nothing. Gary's got nothing. We left Jeff back there, and we're running through arguably the most amazing, just quintessential Pacific Northwest Wonderland.
It wasn't just the highlight of the run. Honestly, it was the highlight of the year to date. I could not believe we came in we topped out at sunset. We actually topped out the climb at sunset, alpenglow. And when you get up and over that pass, you've got a direct sight line over Mount Adams off to your right. And then in front of us, there's a full mountain range, and it's a full moon. So there's a full moon rise happening. The sky is pink and purple. And we're just looking at this 180 in front of us, completely forgetting the fact that Rainier is just popping immediately behind us. And then we turn around, and it's just like, it's mind boggling. And it was one of those moments where, we all longed for the ability to capture it in film or photography. And we just all of a sudden came to terms with the fact that that one was for us. That was the highlight of the whole trail. And it's here. We all experienced it. It didn't need to be on film. It was a very special moment to share with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's putting this footage together and collecting it, and I'm having to give you guys cameras, and I felt so bad having to put cameras in your hands, knowing that your job is not to film, it's to make the area safe and gets it done. But at the same time, you apologized profusely, and I'm like, Yassine, it is okay.
It was so awesome. Like Gary said, I think he said it so eloquently, but we realized that at that moment, this is something that we'll never forget, and it's all up here, right? And pictures and videos don't really do it justice anyway.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things I was kicking myself for. And eventually I was just like, I just got to let this go. Let's.
You said that out loud. We dropped down Panhandle Gap towards Indian Bar. We were about three quarters of the way down. And all of a sudden we just heard someone yell my name out of the bushes, and a shirtless Maxwell Ferguson popped out of nowhere to join Yassine and myself, having been at work all day, very close to Box Canyon, saw that we were on record pace, wanted to be a part of it, and shot out there, ran up the mountain to run with us. And then I'm passing it right back to Yassine to go to. So then Max was with us for the sunset, that beautiful sunset that we had talked about. We crested out, and then we dropped from there. We continued on down into Box Canyon. Yassine. Go.
You get that?
Oh, yes. Oh, that's my cue to start talking. Yes, I was living it all in my brain. So at that point, we just clicked on our headlamps, and it was now dark, and we were making some pretty good time. I thought we descended really well down there, and I could tell Gary was starting to pick it up a little. Right when we heard Kim and the crew kind of give us a couple whoop whoops, I happened to just catch a lip on a rock, and I went down and kind of cut my hand open, but I just kind of was just like, again, this is not about me. I didn't share that with anybody. I didn't
even know that happened.
Yeah, just got up, got to the aid station, and Gary had said he wanted to be quick through here. And excuse me, I knew that Gary was doing math in his head. I knew that he was calculating things. He was looking at mileages, and occasionally I would just say, don't worry about the numbers. And Max had reminded him to eat, not that we had to. I mean, Gary is a pro, and he's so experienced that he knows what to do. And I wasn't constantly asking him, are you okay? What do you need? He was doing all that stuff on his own. I was simply there as a friend, as a pacer, as just the human contact was enough for us for me to help him. And, but now I was actually starting to get a little tired myself, to be honest. It's nighttime. It's dinner time. It's time when your biorhythms are telling you, you should be going to bed now. And we're now pushing the pace. And I know he knows, I know, Max knows, everybody knows that barring any, catastrophes, he's got the record and then some. So we keep pushing the pace, and he's running and hiking really well on the ups. And we talked about the tweeners, which I talk about the tweeners. They're like in between hiking and running, but if you can run those tweeners, I mean, there's sometimes they're like too steep to run, but not steep enough to hike. You know what I mean? Right. It's right in the middle. But if you can run those tweeners, I know that's going to add up over time in the last 13 miles. And we had one last climb, and there was a lot of overgrown bush, I remember. And at this point, now I was like trying to occasionally get some more footage on the GoPro, because I had a fresh GoPro from Ethan. And at this point I was like, I could not really even fill up to my water bottles and take too long. I had to stop and go to the bathroom real quick. And I was just like, man, I got to hurry up and keep up with him, or else I'm going to lose him. Seriously. I was like starting to feel that way. Like, he's moving really well. And I don't know, Gary, you can share your last section too, but I knew that once we hit we hit one section, the final crew stop at Reflection Lakes. And I think we had about 5 miles to go from there, 5.5. And there was one little spot where there was no markings. And Gary just said, you know what, I'm going to go this way. I think this is the way. And I busted out my map, and I said, no, it's this way. And he said, are you sure? I said, yes. I was like, I looked at the map and I said, yes. And then he came back, and then it was the right way, and we came to our crew. And I said, told you. It's funny because my daughter always gets, we always say, don't say that. I told you. And I did that. And so we met our crew for the last time, and that was a real quick exchange. Do you want to talk about that last section at all, Gary?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. From Box Canyon to Reflection Lakes,
at one point, once we departed Box Canyon, Yassine is correct. At that point, I was definitely on the math, and they had basically, the crew had all said, you know, you can break 19 if you go for this right now. And I looked at the watch and I looked at Yassine. It's nighttime, it's dark. He's ahead of me, and I said, Yassine, if we can close out in 2:35, we can crack 19 hours. And Yassine just said, I just got goosebumps. And that was when we started blowing through those tweeners like they didn't exist and working our way up to Reflection Lakes. I didn't want to stop moving. So at that turn, I was like, I'm going to go this way. Just let me know if it's the wrong way. And sure enough, it was the wrong way. And he got me back on course. We came through, and I just wanted water, and I wanted 4 thawed, we call them Mr. Freezies, but apparently they're called Otter Pops. And it's just like, it's just sugar water, right? It's sugar, food coloring, and water. And Rich said these aren't frozen. I was like, I don't care. I just need sugar water. I need sugar to my brain, and I can't really eat much anymore. So I grabbed 4 Mr. Freezies, little ones, and a thing of water. And Yassine and I were gone. And I think the descent is I think it's about 4.5. No, it's 5.5. You're right. It was 5.5 miles from there. And the first half mile climbs, like that again, one of those tweener climbs that just feels like it's annihilating you. And once you top out, it's 5 miles descent. And I had alluded to, I've said that like my legs just have never felt so good, and my quads didn't flinch on me a single time, excuse me, the entire run. And by the time we crested, having already done that loop in 3 days, knowing what was left, I unleashed. And you know, I was telling myself, this is the last descent in hurt. This is you going for your course record. You've got to leave it all out here right now. And it's pretty technical going down through there. And Yassine and I just got, I mean, truly, we just got into such a groove where we were flying down. Yassine alluded at one point where he's like, you know, it's technical. Don't do anything too dangerous down through here. And there's a couple of small uphills, and we went through those like they didn't exist. And there's a washout, a water bar that you have to cross near the bottom. And we got there faster than I thought we would. And on the opposite side, it says 1.7 miles to Longmire. And Yassine looked at the sign, and he's like, are you kidding me? 1.7 miles? Oh my God, let's go.
I remember exactly what I said. I said, get the F out of here. Because what happened was that last section of 5K or more, it was like a time warp. Like it just time dissolved like nothing. And I had told Gary when we left White River,
yes,
this is going to be over in a blink of an eye. You remember me saying that?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I almost piped in earlier because I wanted to make sure that got mentioned. Exactly. It was poignant, and I remember it specifically. We picked up, we started running together, and Yassine said, "This is going to be over in the blink of an eye. Don't lose sight of that. You know, time is precious. We're in it right now. You've given so much to get to this point. Make sure that you take advantage of what's left and get what you came for today."
And I want to say the last 1.7 miles is mostly downhill to Longmire, and it is very rocky and technical. And, you know, even afterwards, I remember you said to me, Yassine, you were working hard in that last section. dude was trying to drop me. No, I was going for sub 19, but I was holding on for dear life. I mean, I literally have a blister on my hand from holding his backup headlamp and holding a GoPro, and I was clutching them, and I was trying to keep up with him. I mean, it's nice to see your face because I didn't see your face at all.
Yeah, totally.
We were moving fast, and I don't know what it exactly was, but all of a sudden we saw the floodlight at the lodge at Longmire, and you know, anybody.
I think we were under 12 minutes for the last 1.7 miles.
Yeah, I mean that's moving. I mean, on the technicality of that trail, after running 90 miles. I was amazed. It was very profound for me because a lot of times I'm the Gary in this situation. I'm the one who is getting paced. So it was a very profound moment to kind of turn the tables and be at the other end of it, and to witness such a superhuman effort. And at times I wanted to like cry because it was just like, I can't believe this guy's legs are moving this fast after running 90 plus miles over that much climbing, and then seeing that floodlight lodge at Longmire. and we yelled a few times. I think we woke some people up, and we got talked to by the Rangers.
Yeah,
we got talked to by the Rangers, but who cares? You know what? History just happened. You know what I mean? We're not going to just be quiet about it.
That was actually one of my favorite things throughout the day, Gary, that you maybe weren't privy to. We encountered a lot of the tourists that you passed over the course of the day.
I don't know this story.
And it was so awesome to be like, someone would come up and be like, oh, are you guys runners? And we're like, well, we're actually crewing a runner. Oh, is that what that guy was that ran by us? Oh, yeah, he's actually going for the record on the course.
You got mistaken too, right?
And someone thought it was you. It was kind of cool to brag that, especially after Mowich, when we knew you were good to go, to brag that we know the guy that is going to break the record today. And at that finish, when you rolled in, we were all kind of chilling and celebrating, and those guys came out, those guards. You guys are way too loud, way too loud. Part of me just wanted to be like,
do you understand?
He just broke the record. You guys need to go away. We can do whatever we want. He can do whatever he wants. We own this mountain, bro. And I have to say, as a filmmaker, I wanted to document the last stretch running you in. And as a filmmaker, I have to let you know that that's not going to happen. Because I tried to keep up and I could not. I don't know how you were flying that last stretch. And it is technical, even just the last little bit into the parking lot. You snag a toe or anything, and you're full out Superman, losing teeth and everything. I got the shot, but it's going to look like it's this. So I'll just add a bunch of music and fix it in post. But, it was absolutely incredible. So Gary, what does it feel like to now own the fastest known time supported around Mount Rainier on the Wonderland Trail?
It's unbelievable. I mean, I don't even know if it's still fully set in. It's only been 5 days, and it's been such a crazy 5 days driving to Silverton, Colorado in the process from Vancouver. But there was a moment, so we finished at about, 150, whatever, 148, 146 in the morning on Thursday morning, slept for about 4 hours, packed up, drove home on that Thursday. And then on the Friday I got up and I was like, just my body was a mess. It was just, I had the old man walk where my shoulders were thrown back just to balance the fact that my legs wouldn't move. And I didn't make it out of the apartment for much that day. And it was late that day, and one of you guys posted a picture, and I just had it was brief moment of 60 seconds where I just had tears of joy, and getting them a bit right now too. But Jeff just posted, Jeff Fisher yesterday, about the experience as a team, and I think more than anything, that's what makes it so meaningful. I spent a couple of years traveling the world, and I experienced a lot of things by myself, and I experienced a lot of things with other people. And by and large, no matter how wonderful the solo experiences were, things were always more special with other people to share it with. And you guys all made this extra special for me and made it one of the greatest days of my life.
18 hours, 52 minutes is the new fastest known time supported around Mount Rainier on the Wonderland Trail. I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. You have to be you have to be Superman, where you're touching the ground to be able to do something like that.
No, his son. He's coming.
That's right. The sun coming, so who knows? Maybe by the time he's 6, he'll get it. We're going to kind of wrap up the show here because we are going over time, and I want to make sure that this I can edit this together and into a cohesive show. I know that those of you who did jump over to this new live stream, thank you. The chat room for some reason is bonkers, and I thank YouTube for that. I apologize. We do have still a number of questions I want to ask Gary quickly in the post show.
Yep.
I will allow all of us to speak, to say some words to you, Gary. I have to thank you for letting us be a part of it, both Kim and myself, because it was the second you sent that email out of hey, here's a thing I'm looking at doing. Do any of you want to be a part of it? I mean, there was no question. There was no hesitation. and I'm honored, and you're a hero, man. You're a hero to a lot of ultra runners, and especially those of us who maybe you're new to the sport and really look up to you. You're the original ginger runner.
But I'm not a ginger.
But exactly, I told Jen that story. Yeah.
Giant red beard in the magician's closet. For those of you who may not have searched YouTube for any of Gary's videos, he has a number of them, and they go back. You're how old? 67? You're 67 years old?
60, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah. He said
48.
West Coast Trail FKT, the East Coast Trail FKT. There's a number of trail runs that he's filmed, including breaking his foot. Go watch his videos, because he honestly is the original ginger runner. And like,
but I wasn't a ginger runner when I was filming those videos, Ethan. So I want to clarify.
Yeah.
I want to clarify on the record. Jen knows this. I said this when I was running. I've had to come to terms with becoming a ginger as a 36-year-old man. I'm 38 right now. My beard is this big orange beard, but my actual hair, which no longer exists, was brown, light brown, and even dirty blonde when it was on my head. I'll have to push a picture sometime just to say. So I have fully come to terms. I'm rocking the ginger and I'm loving it. I'm honored to be one of the two ginger runners in this conversation. But early on, it was so weird being called a ginger. I'm like, I'm not a ginger. What are you talking about? And yeah,
my life, like, stereotype. Trust me, man. I'm just like you. I told people I had brown hair for 25 years until it was out of the bag. So for me, it was an honor, man. It was an honor to film you and capture some of this on film, and I hope to do it justice. I really do. And a big thanks to Jeff Peltier as well for helping with this.
Yeah, Peltier did amazing.
Can't wait to drop this video. Jeff, you have anything to say to Gary Robbins?
Oh man, Gary, man, a few times I've been able to share in the adventures with you. It's just been a pleasure, and to experience with you, you're running on a whole other level. Is, man. You know what it makes me want to do, Gary? You know what it makes me want to do, right? It makes me want to cry. I'm not gonna cry. Tell Gary, this adventure, I'm not crying. So I'm going to continue that on, but good job, man, and share many more adventures.
Absolutely, my friend.
Jen?
When I was introduced to Gary by J-Bob or Jason Lehman,
Yeah.
I found out that Gary Robbins was a Newfoundlander. Which is where I also hail from.
Yeah.
So this man was crazy enough to be out here doing these things, so I felt like I was in the right place. And I'll have to say that just following you throughout the years and everything, and Linda and Roxy and family, it's been the best. And getting to run with you just in general is probably the memories you can't ever erase. They're always gonna be locked back there. But I'll have to say, in everything that I've ever been a part of in terms of crewing, pacing, helping other runners out, seeing you come across the Wonderland Trail in Longmire at that night, I was the first one you gave a hug to. And I think my rib is still recovering. The intensity that you had in your everything, this breath of like this, I can't capture it, and I can't explain what that made me feel. And then this hug that you wrapped around and slapped me on the back and almost cracked it.
Sorry
and
about
then
that.
you delivered that same hug to every single one of us, and with the intensity and the passion. And seeing that was, I think, the coolest thing I've ever seen since figuring out what this whole ultra scene is all about, and to experience it with all of these guys and to have it documented. It was the ride of a lifetime. And so I am honored.
Absolutely. I echo what these guys have said. And I've always loved you, and I love you even more now. And we're our family. Is, we're big fans of Gary Robbins, even when he's kicking my butt at Hurt 100. But I agree with you. I think having this shared experience is really capturing the essence of the sport of ultra running, and supporting each other, being inclusive and very supportive. And I've witnessed a lot of amazing things, and Canada Day 2015 up at the very, very, very top. And you know, and Erica, my wife, asked me when I got home, she said, like, Gary, he's pretty amazing runner, right? I said, yes, he's actually, when it comes to courses like this, like the Wonderland Trail and the Hurt 100, he is up there as one of the top people in the world, in my opinion. And to see you do what you did, and furthermore, more importantly in my book, is your attitude towards it all. And it's very infectious, and everybody loves being around you. And I'm really, Reed is a lucky little boy who's swimming in Linda's tummy right now. And, he has no idea what he's about to get into. And I'm excited for him and for you and Linda. And can't wait to see you again here in the future. Your future.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, you know that I just love you and Linda so much, and I'm just super honored that you asked me to come along, and even more honored that Linda asked me to kind of be with you on that day. That was a really unique position to kind of, you know, relay things onto her from you, and then, you know, hear what she was kind of doing throughout the day and what she wanted you to hear, and just it was just a very like intimate, special place to be. And you know, I'm also a crier.
Yes, absolutely.
It was very special, and you know, we love you guys so much, and wouldn't have had it any other way. We're just really
I miss you guys already. When can we all get together or just go run together?
Well, Gary, if you're not doing anything on August 29th, I need a pacer for Cascade Crest. A chunk of course that you probably already run that you can come on down. I mean, I know you're having a baby, but
we're making every effort. We can't make any guarantees, but yeah, we want to be there. We want to be a part of your experience and a part of Cascade Crest again. Guys, yeah, thanks for those words. It's weird. There's very few times in your life that you get a chance to really have people dote such wonderful comments about you, other than like your wedding. And, you know, you all effectively brought a tear to my eye, and I really can't thank you enough for being such good friends beyond and over and above everything else that occurred. I love all you guys, and I love the time we get to spend together. And it was really special to just get to see you guys again. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gary. For those who are watching live, again, reminder that Gary set the brand new supported Wonderland FKT in 18 hours and 52 minutes.
Not worthy.
We're not worthy. Remotely worthy. Decimating the previous FKT by 2 hours and 1 minute. I think that's 10%, like 15% faster, whatever the math is. I don't do math well, but it's a lot. Gary, where can people follow you on social media?
My website is garyrobbins.ca. That is getting revitalized. We're going to have a new one up and going in the next, well, it'll probably be a couple months. Instagram, Gary Robbins. Twitter, Gary_Robbins. Facebook, Gary Robbins athlete page. Those are the places to find me. And yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning in, and we're all excited to see Ethan make something really special out of this. No pressure.
Trust me, I want to make something incredible too. I mean, I want to share this story with the world, honestly, because it was so cool. So cool to be part of it. We'll go down the line and where people can find you on social media and stuff like that. Jeff, we'll start with you.
Oh man, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, Junebug2008.
Jennifer Love, good luck finding me. There are a lot of Jennifer Loves to it. Instagram is Jen with 2 N's, Gwen Love, and Twitter, Jen Gwen Love.
At Yassine Daboon. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter.
And
Animal Athletics.
We wish Willie could have joined us tonight, as well as Rich White, and of course Jeff Peltier as well. Huge integral parts of the entire day. Kim, where can people find you?
Facebook.com/milelonglegs, milelonglegs.com, Twitter, milelong_leg, and Instagram, Kimberly.
That's it, guys. That is it for tonight's show. We are going to do a real quick post show. I'm going to rip through some questions because there's some good ones from during the live stream, so Gary can actually go to bed and get some sleep, because I know he needs it. He's in the mountains. He's at elevation. Thank you for tuning in live every single Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at youtube.com/thegingerrunner. So make sure you subscribe for all the updates on the fly as they happen. And across social media, it's The Ginger Runner. Just go find it. except for Instagram. It's at Ethan Newberry. Just to mess with your head. We're moving to the post show very quickly. Thank you, Gary, for joining us again. Another brand new FKT around the Wonderland Trail, 18 hours and 52 minutes. Go try to beat that. Dare you. See you guys in the post show. Real quick post show. Yeah, get up,
Stand up for a second.
stretch, do what you guys need to do. Gary, so we have a list of questions. I'll just kind of roll through them, and I know that we want to kind of get you
Dance.
So here we go. Let me know when you are ready.
I'm ready.
This is from Mitch Muhlenfeld. Gary, what was your nutrition like for the FKT, and what was your gear setup for the day?
Gear setup was the Solomon backpack, the Skin Lab backpack, which fit everything that I needed. That's all I really run with on all of my runs is that pack. And nutrition on the day was actually a little bit more complex than I thought it would be going in. Definitely had some long stretches where I was struggling to get calories in, but I had 9 pieces of avocado sushi. Those were delicious, and they went a long ways towards fueling me. Watermelon. I started off in the first section, the first 34 miles, knocking down 6 gels, which I was really impressed with, but I never touched another gel for the rest of the day. And some drink mix from Scratch Labs, some Coke, and soup. Soup is always one of those things that I can always get into my stomach, and I find that the real calories from the aid station that you guys had set up made a big difference. So I would always try to sit down at those aid stations and actually consume as many calories as possible there before picking calories to go with me and getting out of there. The biggest thing is just keeping the calories coming. You need to solve that caloric deficiency problem, and every minute that you're falling off your calorie strategy, you're compromising your performance. So it's a problem-solving thing, and it's very different at hour 15 than it is at hour 5, unfortunately. So a bit of everything, really.
What shoes were you wearing?
Solomon Sense Pros. Run everything in those.
Meerkat Hess asks, what advice would you give to aspiring long-distance runners?
Aspiring long distance runners, I would say the biggest thing getting into running new distances is figuring out the gear issues in advance. I guess the big thing is like chafing and blistering. Those are things that can really shut people down in a hurry. I saw a forum posting recently for the Neenacker race in North Vancouver with someone 2 weeks from race day asking how he was going to fix his blister issues. And my response was, if you find the right socks and you find the right shoes, you should never be dealing with blisters. And anything else is just a Band-Aid. So when you're getting into longer distance stuff, you're going to face other problems. And don't accept Band-Aid solutions. Find real solutions to those issues, because the small problems become big problems. And I would say the other thing is to really find like-minded people and get out with them. It's amazingly empowering when you have other people that love being out for those long runs to join you, get you up and get you going.
What is next?
Next is a baby boy, less than 6 weeks. As you mentioned, stuff you're gonna face other problems.
Oh,
what? How did?
Who has just joined, ladies and gentlemen, is Gary's wife back in Vancouver, Canada. It is Linda Barton Robbins. Hi, Linda. You might, Linda, you might want to just turn the volume down on your laptop.
Okay, I just did.
Okay,
I told her I was.
Keep the echo at bay.
Hi, honey. I told you I was just going to get milk. I didn't mention it was in Colorado. I'll be back in a week.
15th, right?
Yeah.
I just emailed Linda. I was like, I want to bring her in because we were getting all sentimental and stuff like that. We haven't actually heard from Linda about what it was like to be miles away in Vancouver trying to get updates via text messages and stuff like that. Linda, how was that day for you?
It's always hard. It's always hard to be far away when Gary travels for any of his races or any of his runs, because if something happens, I can't just be there. But even when it goes well, I want to be there too. You want to celebrate with him. But I ended up having a really great day. I mean, that sounds terrible, but we have a good friend, Kim Diana and I spent the entire day together, and we went on a great big hike. We took our dog Roxy. We went blueberry picking on Bremner Farms. We had blueberry pancakes. We had a How to Train Your Dragon movie marathon. So, yeah, she kept me occupied for the day, kept me distracted, and she was here at 6 a.m. and didn't leave until 11:30. And by that point, we had just been kind of staring at each other for a little while, and I had to go pick up our friend Kevin from the airport, so it was time for her to go. But yeah, it was a great day, but it was hard because I knew that there was so little service that, I would get one message that he'd started, and then hours would go by, and then I knew basically what his splits were supposed to be, so I had an idea of when he was supposed to come in, but then an hour would go by after that, and then 2 hours, and then 3, and so then you start to think, okay, he's probably gone through, but I have no idea if he's feeling okay or if he's on pace. So it was just a lot of not knowing and obsessively checking my phone. But you guys were fantastic. It was wonderful because I knew every time you guys got just the tiniest bit of service that I was going to get a flood of messages, and I would get like 9 from him at once, and I would get 1 from Jeff Peltier, and then I would get like 2 or 3 messages from Rich, like call me, and so I would call him and talk to him for 5 minutes. So it made it a lot easier to not only have Diana with me all day, but to have you guys there. And he was so pumped the whole week before, just like he couldn't believe how many of you wanted to be there. He's like, I'm just this guy, and all these people want to be there. I don't understand. But I mean, I know each of you, and I know each of you are wonderful people, and we have such a wonderful community anyway. That knowing that you guys were there and you were just going to pump him full of positive energy for the entire day, that I knew he would be fine, and that he would do this record, and he would be great, and he would have a wonderful, 3/4 of a day. So I honestly can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, Linda.
So I've been sitting here like listening to you guys and crying too, but I'm also hormonal, so I have a whole.
We have no excuses. We don't have. Well, I do. I guess I do. I always.
So the question was, what's next? And the answer is that beautiful woman right there is going to pump a child out within the next 6 weeks.
Do this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Baby bump. There you go. It's a boy. His name is going to be Reed. And I direct a bunch of races. So Squamish 50 is the big one I direct. That's August 22nd, which is all of 10 days after our due date. I've actually got 2 races to direct before the end of July, days after I get back from Silverton. And I'm hoping to race the Rut in Montana at the beginning of September, a race that I know Jen and Jeff love. And I am also going to UTMF, Ultra Mount Fuji. That race has happened historically in April, and this year they pushed it to September. So the race date on UTMF is actually September 25th this year. So I'll be going to Japan at the end of September.
Which I've said is okay too.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
just thought of something. Okay, there's a brand out there that I like to drink their ginger beer. It's non-alcoholic ginger beer. It's called Reed's Ginger.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It's solid.
So what?
We
I guess
can't
you're
stop
saying
that.
you should name your son Ginger Beer. Well, Linda, I'm glad that you were able to join us for a little bit. I miss seeing your face, and I know Gary probably does too.
Great to see you, Linda.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Good luck
guys.
with everything.
There she goes. Oh yeah, Gary. By the way, Linda's gone. Sorry.
That was awesome. That was a pleasant surprise. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, sorry. I was hoping to get it during the actual live show because I had a feeling that she was going to thank you more than all of us. So Gary, I appreciate it, man. You're super awesome, and it was an honor to be there with you, and we really appreciate it. All of us really appreciate the experience and being able to kind of relive it together for a little bit tonight.
That was a lot of fun, guys.
Have a blast in Silverton, Gary.
Ooh, yeah, it should be a fun week.
Yeah.
This is the place
So
to be right
you're
now.
not running Hard Rock, but what are you doing in Hard Rock again?
I am here to pace Iker Carrera, who is just behind the computer screen here, with his lovely wife and their newborn child. Iker, do you want to say hi real quick? You're going to say hi whether you like it or not.
Gary's giggling.
Is the light enough? No.
I trust that someone's there, though.
There, yeah.
A silhouette.
Are you?
Look at Hard Rock.
Yeah, kick butt at Hard Rock.
Yeah, you couldn't actually see who that was, but that was Iker. So yeah, it's funny. Iker and I both went to see
Feel free to
UTMF.
tell Gary to shut up anytime you need to.
Was that Linda or something? Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was awesome.
Have a blast. Have a blast.
Thank you so much.
Your
You got
body
it.
is a wonderland.
Your body is a wonderland, Gary. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in live tonight. Appreciate you sticking around for the post show. It's definitely a fun one, especially with a little visit from Linda. Thank you to Jeff, Jen, Yassine for letting us use his house. My wonderful wife, and Erica and your family as well for letting us use your home. Thank you for everyone who tuned in live. We'll see you next Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific back in LA. And we hope to maybe have some good guests because there's a lot that happened over the last week. Hard Rock is going to happen this weekend. The Mountain Marathon happened this last weekend, which is amazing to follow. So lots of stuff to talk about. And next week's show should be fun. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.